I did a lot of different things. And I wrote Eric's cover story when he died in 1995.
You worked for Source then?
I did, yeah, in the LA Times. And in the article in the LA Times, I wrote that too. When at the funeral with Cecil Murray. Wasn't Cecil Murray the pastor of that?
Yeah, yes, he was. Yes, I was at that funeral.
I was at the funeral. So I go back that far, Mr. Lonzo.
Okay. Where you from, man?
Huh?
Where you from?
I'm originally from Oakland.
Are you really?
Yeah. And moved to New York. And then from New York, I moved over here in 94. And so all of that early, Death Row, Eazy E, all of that stuff back in the day, I was around back then. So I've been around in LA for a minute.
That's one of my favorite non-LA towns is Oakland.
Oh, yeah?
Oakland is Compton on the water, man. I feel like home.
He said Compton on the water.
Compton on the water. Compton with an ocean view, huh?
I never heard that phrase before.
It's Compton with an ocean view. You talking about feeling at home, but you got an ocean view, Doc. I ain't lying. Okay,
it's true. It is a beautiful place. A lot of wildness goes on, but it is a beautiful place.
It's wild they come. That's why I don't know. Unfortunately, I feel at home.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm kind of used to it. All my folks are off East 14th.
Yeah, I grew up in East Oakland, 11th Ave and Foothill, 19th, East 24th.
East 14th
is like the La Brea, La Cienega for people.
Right. That's the main drag.
International Boulevard now. It's no longer called East 14th.
It's international. Excuse me. I'm glad you told me. I got one thing got lost. All right, that'll work. Dusty, how you doing today, Doc?
Man, can't complain. It's a pleasure to have you on. Appreciate everything you've done for the culture. I'm really looking forward to learning about your career at The Source, learning about all of the stuff that you've done when it comes to Tupac and Biggie and just hip hop in general. So I just want to thank you for joining the show, Mr. P. Frank Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you about The Source. I listened to a few of your interviews, and I would like to dive a little bit more into The Source. The 90s was an interesting time in hip hop. Can you give us an idea how you got that gig and, just some of the exciting times that you had at The Source magazine?
Wow. I started writing for The Source. I'm actually celebrating 30 years since that came out. My first article in The Source was AMG, Bitch Better Have My Money, 1995.
Oh, man.
And so, I was going to school in New York City back in 1993 and at Columbia University, and they had the 50th issue of The Source. So up at my school where I was going to get a degree in journalism in New York, which was a wild time back then, Dave Mays, Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa, and Kool Herc all came to the school. And I saw Dave up there, and I was a writer. I was a hip hop writer, but not really. I was a more traditional journalist at the time, going to Columbia Journalism School. And I saw Dave Mays. As you know, Dave Mays is the founder of The Source magazine, which he started in his dorm room in 1988 at Harvard. White Jewish cat, but a dope brother. A lot of controversial things about Dave, but Dave was one of the first chroniclers of hip hop culture. I saw Dave, bum rushed him, and was like, "Yo, I got to be down." And I stayed in contact with him. A few months later, I moved to LA to start working at the LA Times, where I covered OJ and all of that, Snoop's murder trial. And they gave me a couple freelance assignments that led to one thing to another. That led to Eric's cover, which was the first Source cover I did in 1995. And so I covered Eric's funeral, Tupac's murder, Biggie's murder, all of that, Snoop's murder trial, covered Death Row, interviewed Suge in jail. I wrote the Dr. Dre cover when he left Death Row for The Source, all of that. So, I've been a chronicler of the game for a minute, but it started out because I bum rushed Dave Mays at my school. So, and that was way in 1994. So I come from that era where you had to try to go for it. We sold out the trunk. We wasn't like waiting for no distribution or no Spotify. We was on the block. And so I took my opportunity, and it changed my life.
I see you won some awards in your time, Doc.
I've been around. I've seen a few things. I did. Got a few Emmys and a lot of NAACPs and a bunch of things. But I've been very fortunate, man. Hip hop has very blessed me.
How did you get into the documentary business?
Documentary business. Well, that happened on a fluke again. Shout out to Dave Mays, and I guess to some extent Ray Benzino. That's a whole other conversation. But what happened was when I was at The Source, writing the cover stories, I eventually became the West Coast editor. Then after that, I became the executive editor. And so I moved up the little food chain back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And remember when we brought the Source Awards back? Right. The Source Awards came back in 99 after 3 or 4 year hiatus, if I'm not mistaken. when we used to have it at Madison Square Garden at that little theater right next to the Garden. And they were like, well, who's going to write the show, the Source Awards? And I was like, well, I'm a writer. I got a TV degree. And so I ended up writing the Source Awards in 99, 2000, 2001 with Dave Mays and Benzino, Dr. Dre, all of that crazy madness we had back then. So yeah, that's how I got my start. And so I started writing the actual Source Hip Hop Awards, and that turned into my buddy Reggie Hudlin, who was at BET, put me on a show called American Gangster. Not sure if you're familiar with American Gangster. Yeah. And so American Gangster was one of my first documentary breaks. I did Matula Shakur, another guy named Monster Cody. I'm not familiar. If you're familiar with Monster Cody, if you're from LA, you know Monster Cody's name.
Yes, sir.
And I also did an episode about Matula Shakur. So those are some of my first documentaries. And obviously what put me on the map was Unsung. I started working on Unsung in 2008 and have produced about 30 episodes. So it was Unsung and American Gangster that put me in the mix. So it was great.
Let me ask you, what do you remember about the time, big time in hip hop, especially for a fan like myself, but what do you remember about the time when Eminem and 50 were going at it with Benzino and The Source? Can you give us a little background, what you know about that?
Well, I was kind of out of there at that point. I was still like, was cool with everybody, but I wasn't around that magazine at that time, but he was still intimately connected. Benzino is a interesting character who contributed a lot to that time and was a detriment a lot to that time. And really one of the reasons why The Source was the downfall was because of Benzino. I speak freely. I'm a grown man. I lived it. I don't have to try to mince words. Benzino was a terror to the culture to some extent and to the business of The Source. His kind of attitude and some of the things he did was out of pocket. And he, I think, had a chip on his shoulder and really wanted to make it as a rapper, but kind of never really did. But I think as a business person, he was a part of The Source's foundation and was there and a part of a lot of great decisions. But I think that the Eminem Benzino thing was a stupid idea on Benzino's part and resulted in a lot of negative publicity and Dave eventually losing The Source. So I think that it was a horrible thing.
When did The Source go out of business?
It's still in business.
Oh, okay.
The Source is still in business. It's big online. I don't think they print any physical publications. Londell McMillan, shout out to Londell McMillan, who is the owner. Londell is the lawyer formerly for Prince, and it's pretty well known in the business. So Londell is now the owner, and The Source is still going.
Oh, yeah, that's the brother. That's the brother. Yeah, I met him before. He was somebody else's attorney, too.
Yeah, I think it was Shaka Khan, a bunch of people. He's an attorney for a lot of people, yes.
Yeah, he's a big-time attorney. Yeah, big-time.
But he's